Mullah Nasruddin was a mystic, and we know him to be a mystical trickster and a joker. But like most mystics and masters and gurus, he was considered to have magical powers. And this came to the ears of the Sultan of the day. So Mullah Nasruddin was hauled off to the palace to face the Sultan, who was in a very bad mood that day. And he said to the Mullah, "Mullah, I believe that you have mystical powers. Tell me something mystical immediately, otherwise your head will be lopped from your shoulders." So Mullah Nasruddin gathered himself together and he said, "Great Lord of the world as we know it, Master of the age, I see your mother and father on thrones up in the celestial realms with the gods bowing to them and serving to them." Well, the Sultan was very happy to hear these words, and it changed his mood somewhat, and so he said, "Oh, Mullah, please won't you tell me, from where do you get your mystical powers?" And the Mullah said, "Fear. Fear will do it every time." And then there was that man. He was absolutely penniless. He'd been a beggar. He'd never known a full stomach in all of his life. And one day, the hunger and the pain of this was so overwhelming to him, he fell on the floor, importuning whoever it was that out there. And in his lap he had his empty purse, and he said, "Oh, look at me, I have nothing. I've never known what it's like to have a full belly. Isn't there anything there that can help me?" And all of a sudden there was a great booming voice, and it said, "Close and then open your purse. But remember, you cannot spend what you find there unless you take the purse and throw it in the ocean." So the beggar stopped his weeping and wailing, closed his purse and opened it again, and there was a gold coin. So he took it out, closed it again, opened it again, and there was another gold coin. He had quite a collection. But his belly was still grumbling, so as he'd been ordered to do, he went down to the edge of the ocean to throw the purse in, but he couldn't. The source of his wealth, he couldn't throw it away. So he went out in the streets and begged for some crusts of bread. Then the next day he opened his purse and closed it again, and again he had a collection of gold, and again his grumbling stomach sent him down to the ocean, but he couldn't do it. He couldn't throw the purse, the source of his wealth, in the ocean. So he went out begging again. And this went on and on and on. The days passed and years passed until, of course, in the course of time, the beggar died. And when they came, they found a house full of gold, but not a crust of bread to be found. Now there's a reminder of a very old story that enables a question to be asked. And that's that story about the time when Confucius, with a group of his followers, was walking along a riverbank. And then, as they were walking, they heard the great thunderous roar of a cascade, a waterfall. And there they saw this tumult of water flowing over the rocks, tumbling down what seemed to be a great depth and crashing on rocks below. And Confucius said, "Look at that waterfall. Not even a turtle could survive this cascade." But just as those words were coming out of his mouth, they saw a man fall over the waterfall. He rolled and rolled and rolled and spun until he disappeared. Confucius and his followers were distressed, and they hurried down the embankment, thinking that they could drag out the broken body from the base of the waterfall. But when they arrived there, the old man who had fallen walked out of the water unscathed and went off down the road whistling a tune. So Confucius ran after him and stopped him in his tracks and said, "Please, please, won't you tell me how you did that?" The old man said, "Oh, it was very simple. I entered the water at the center of its whirl, and I left the water when it whirled the other way." Confucius said, "Yes, yes, yes, I know that. There's more. Tell me what it is." The old man was in a little bit of a hurry to get on his way, but rather impatiently he said to Confucius, well, you know, we're made out of the earth, and I live on the land like we all do. So I know the ways of the land very well. But I also lived by the river, so I know the ways of water. I really don't know how I do it, but it does happen. So the question that arises from this story is, what do the land and the water represent for us now, in this place where we've discovered that existence, knowledge and bliss, Satchitananda, is only present, and we're in an integrated state when we're absolutely here, present, alert and attentive. But we know there's more. How is it that we can live in a state that we're perpetually still and present, and yet the movement of life swirls, the experiences come and go in an never-ending stream? How do they come together? How does it work for us? How can we be in a state beyond the thrall of even Satchitananda, while life and its movement, its never-ending stories continue endlessly? What do the land and the water represent for us? I'm made of the earth. I know the land very well. I know the ways of water. Is it possible that when they come together, we can enter the experiences of life? I enter the water at the center of its world, and I leave it when it whirls the other way. Unscathed. What do the land and the water represent for us? Thank you.